So you guys may have seen it. This UFO report, we've all been waiting for it. And a lot of people said it was a dud. Pentagon report says UFOs can't be explained, and this admission is a big deal. It is a big deal. It means they're coming out right now and saying, oh yeah, you know all those UFOs people reported seeing? Well, they are real. We've seen them too, and we have no idea what they are. So now it's just opened up the door to everybody kind of being like, something is happening. We don't know what. Should we be scared?
I want to just quickly clarify. I said walking plasma balls. They're called talking plasma balls. And I think that might be part of what these people are seeing.
So wait, what is that?
It's when you focus lasers from like at least 3 or more base stations into a point in the air, and then it creates like a ball of plasma that reads on radar. And they think that it's a craft because they can move it around really fast. And they're like, no craft can move at this speed because they're just pointing a light.
But do you think our military wouldn't know that?
If they, they might know. It's crazy. It's almost. I think they're gaslighting the right word. I think that they're prepping us for some sort of like military. They want us to fund the military, be afraid.
Oh, interesting. That's a very good perspective. But then it doesn't explain why so many people for so many years, especially after World War II, started saying that they were seeing, spacecrafts and seeing things in the middle of the night. Especially, I'm the most amazed by crop circles. Like, this is like inexplicable, like perfect measurements, circles, but hit in the middle of nowhere in the middle of the night. Couldn't possibly be. They say, oh, it's just a prank, and they cover it up. I mean, there's just been a lot of questions, and the government never answers it, and I definitely, of course, there's always some sort of initiative to get more money from, its citizens. But I've always just thought that they know a lot more than they're ever telling us, of course, because they're the government. And it's too much when it happens all over the world. It stops being conspiracy, right? So it's one thing to say, okay, my grandmother saw this thing, alien spacecraft, and she said a green man came out, and you could be like, all right, whatever. It's your grandmother. She's probably crazy. Cool. But there was also a story, and this one is, to me, the most striking, and you can fact check me on the country. I'm pretty sure it's Zimbabwe. But there was like 51 school children that were playing on the playground, and they all ran inside, and they said they were crying and they were terrified, and their teachers were inside correcting work. I think it was 65, exactly 65 school children. And they all said they described a spacecraft that landed, and this was almost like 30 years ago. And that a little person came out and was looking at them but didn't say anything, but they knew what the person was saying, or the alien, whatever it was wanted them to think in their heads. So they didn't need to move their mouth to communicate. And so this happened, and obviously it made a big splash around the world. And so Harvard actually flew in psychiatrists and psychologists into this random place in Zimbabwe and sat down with the kids to determine whether or not this was a hoax, right? And so they isolated the kids, and they spoke to each of the kids, and you can actually watch the interviews of these children so young, and they all kind of look terrified, and they describe what they saw, and he had them draw pictures, and he's interviewing them and asking them, so how did it make you feel? It made me feel scared. They're all talking about it. And he concluded at the end of it that there was no way that this was a hoax, because it's impossible for that many children to lie and tell the same story. And we all know that, kids, they just they don't have that kind of a memory. They're not nefarious. They can't all tell the same story. And the most interesting thing about that, despite Harvard coming into Africa, concluding that they told the truth, is that now they're all adults, and they did an update interview with them. And they all say that's exactly what happened on the day. That's what happened, in that schoolyard that day. And we don't have any explanation for it other than...
Did you know that since the lockdowns, UFO sightings, paranormal activity has been going up? Reports of people saying unexplained things have been happening.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, it's just weird stuff. And to me, on the topic of aliens, I've met people, and they're just like, there's no way they exist. And define alien. Okay, it's just, any, I guess, being that we're not aware of. When you say alien, you don't have to say it has to have big eyes or whatever. But I always found it really strange. You really just have to apply a little bit of common sense, that we're obviously not the most intelligent being. Otherwise, we would be like, hey, Tim, let's go to Mars tomorrow real quick, grab something, come back. Let's go on just fly up and look at all the planets. And we can't do that. And not even that. Aliens could be at the bottom of the ocean, right? We can't even get to the bottom of the ocean. So to me, it's weird that there are some people that go, it's just impossible because the government hasn't told us, or we haven't seen it with our own 2 eyes. So we didn't even have cell phones. My dad had a beeper when I was growing up. Yeah. And think about how much tech has changed. It's like, we're definitely not the smartest beings, but we're also definitively the most arrogant beings, because so many people are convinced that we are the smartest beings. So I guess we get 1 point for being super arrogant.
I'd bet we're actually fairly stupid. What I mean by that is we can collect data. We'll watch a rock roll on the ground and go, oh, and then figure out how to make a wheel. But that's like the lowest level of figuring out how to invent something.
Right.
So if we can assume that there's other intelligent life in the universe, then they're intelligent. The likelihood that there is a more intelligent species than us is probably
Animals.
does.
Think about some of the instincts that animals have, like, dogs. I mean, just they have powers and things that we don't really comprehend as human beings. Like, so as again, we are definitively, I'm not saying that dogs are the smartest. I guess you could say, well, they don't live in houses and they don't have air conditioning and all of this stuff. Okay, sure. But they definitely have, a different sense than human beings have. And people don't explore that at all, which I've always found to be really weird.
There are foxes that are like tuned into the magnetic compass of Earth, so they can like aim magnetic north when they hunt, and then they'll like dive on their prey that's under the snow.
Yeah,
Incredible.
Wolves. I mean, I love animals. Learning about weird things that animals can do. I'm like, they're almost aliens.
Oh yeah,
sometimes.
sharks can sense electromagnetic energy with their nose, I think.
You were mentioning your grandma told the story about seeing a little green man or whatever. Now, a lot of people probably think something like that's really crazy, but let me pull up the story. We got a few stories that are resurfacing now because of this UFO report. These are legitimate sources. This is ArmyTimes.com. I assure you, this is NewsGuard certified, 92.5 out of 100. Army chief talks little green men and sets off UFO enthusiasts. They claim there's an explanation for this, but here's the quote. They say, this is Mark Milley, who's now the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. You'll be dealing with terrorists. You'll be dealing with hybrid armies. You'll be dealing with little green men. You'll be dealing with tribes. You're going to be dealing with it all, and you're going to be dealing with it simultaneously, Milley said. Now, of course, here's what they write. Wait, what was that? Did Milley just say cadets will be battling little green men? And then they go, no. They just mean that there are some countries that have people in the military who are small and they wear green outfits. Oh. So that's what they mean by little green men. And hybrid didn't mean like human alien hybrids. It means something, I don't know.
Not chimera.
I mean, I think for a lot of people, like, they just don't like to apply their brains at all. They're more comfortable believing whatever it is they're told, right? I mean, just like, I always say to somebody, it's like going back 100 years and trying to explain the concept of a cell phone to a human being. Like, it just could never happen. Like, you can't just like pick up the phone and call someone and like, and have them be on the other end no matter where you are in what country. I mean, like, they just can't get their minds around it until it's physically in their hands. And so people's, are just not ready to even think about it a lot of times. And I'm the exact opposite, where like, I want to hear everything, because I think it if anything else, it challenges you to think critically, right? And it's such an important exercise to constantly be trying to bend your mind like a pretzel, right?
Yeah, I love the idea of infinity, trying to just understand it.
That was a really,
awesome.
really good point about cell phones, though. Imagine going back to the 90s and saying within, so it's what, iPhone came out 2007. If you said within 10 or so years, you will have a device that can record videos, take photos, you touch it to control it. It can give you access to the summation of human knowledge to a certain degree. You can communicate with other people. You can make phone calls on it. They'd be like, get out of here.
Yeah.
In 10 or 15 years, even when regular cell phones came out, like the Nokia Candy Bar, if you explained a modern, like Galaxy 21 or whatever, they'd be like, no way.
No way. Well, forget that. Like, forget phones. Think about trying to explain electricity to people that were using lanterns to light their homes. Like when J.D. Rockefeller and like that, how he garnered his wealth. Like, oh, we got gasoline and now we got lanterns and this is going to power your home. Imagine trying to explain to those people the concept of electricity powering the world, right? They would think you were a tinfoil hat, a conspiracy theorist, and you would be on the outskirts of society because you're crazy. And actually, interesting little historical tidbit, when, who was it? Not J.D. Rockefeller, the other one of the big guys.
Warburg?
Electricity. It was
Thomas
Edison, but who funded him? It was a bank. Chase
Morgan?
Bank, J.P. Morgan, yeah. I'm like, couldn't get his name out. J.P. Morgan, do you know what happened with the first time Thomas Edison lit, the first home that was ever lit with electricity? Do you know whose home it was?
No.
J.P. Morgan's, right? So he invites a small crowd of wealthy people to come in, and he shows them. They come in, so everything's obviously lit by lanterns, and he turns on his house. And they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And do you want to know what his father said to him afterwards? He said, this is crazy. This will never power the world. Don't invest in this any further. This is stuff that belongs in the circus.
Right. J.P. Morgan's dad?
J.P. Morgan's dad. This is the first showing of electricity was in that house, right? So you have to think about history to kind of consider the present. And we still have these people that think this could never happen, and yet it takes the conspiracy theorists, of their time to really push the world forward.
I think they'd say Zeus shot lightning bolts. I think he had electricity.
Right.
Have you heard of the Baghdad battery? It's this ancient battery. It's a clay pot. You fill it with vinegar, and it has an iron rod in it, and then you wrap it with copper wire, and it produces an electrical charge. And they'd make like 50 of them and line them all up and connect them all to each other. And so like in the pyramids, there's no fire marks because they didn't use fire to light when they were in their building. Apparently they used, theoretically, hypothetically, is electricity to light. They had big batteries. There's a hieroglyph of this guy holding this big, what looks like a tube of like an incandescent with like a filament in it, and then like a slave is like holding the battery behind him or something.
Right. Well, that's actually funny because there's this whole concept now. I'm very into mythology. Like I like Greek mythology, and I think there's something eternal about the lessons that you learn when you study mythology. But what's interesting is if you consider a lot of mythology and you think of them, even if you think of Egyptian hieroglyphics and stories they tell, the concepts of their aliens could literally just be like a person from 2021.
Have you ever watched Stargate SG-1?
Sure. Which is crazy. They would have been like, this person's a god. Oh my gosh, this person just made light.
And if the person told them they were a god, then it would reinforce it.
It would reinforce it.
You want to watch Stargate SG-1?
Yeah.
That's basically what it's about.
Yeah.
Right. So they find this portal that can open up with different codes to a bunch of different planets, and there's an alien race that was claiming to be gods, and they just had better technology.
That's it. Yeah.
So
Isn't
these
that crazy?
people are like, yeah, they think they're gods, and they're just it's magic. It's technology.
I think about like the angels and the demons from the Bible and how they could fly and had wings. I think they had hang gliders.
That's it.
Swooping in with their, I don't know what, dropping fire, little
or jetpacks,
flaming oil on people and stuff.
Yeah.
Jetpacks.
Maybe.
Yeah. That's the crazy thing too. Like when you talk about cell phones, is that when people tried to predict the future, you look at what was that movie? Where Sylvester Stallone goes to the future and everyone's ultra woke.
Time Cop?
No.
What?
I never saw it.
I'm so bad at movies.
Yeah,
it's the one where at the seashells we just talked about it the other day.
RoboCop? No.
The chat's gonna light up. They're like, dude,
They'll tell us.
Yeah.
Give it just a
how do you
second.
Tell
not
us,
remember the name of that
Sylvester
movie?
Stallone in the future.
Yeah, he gets frozen
With the shells,
and then
yeah.
Man, that sounds awesome.
he goes to the future. Wesley Snipes is the bad guy.
gosh.
I know
it's Wesley
exactly
Snipes.
what you're talking about. I can't
Yeah.
remember the name of it though.
I've never seen it.
But anyway, like they try to predict the future and they couldn't fathom cell phones. So like he walks up to
Demolition Man.
Demolition
Yeah.
There we go.
He walks up to a payphone and it's a video payphone, and that was like the thing they thought in the 90s in the future. The payphones will have cameras. And it's like, bro, we just
Technically
Yeah.
correct.
guys have
yeah.
in our pockets. We
Isn't,
don't-
yeah, that's so funny. Yeah,
Yeah.
but people don't think like that. It's interesting. I'm always fascinated by what the human mind is willing to comprehend.
Like, what other technologies are we thinking are going to be centralized that are going to be decentralized in the future?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Energy production, maybe. We have batteries, but like you can't power like a
There's
lot of stuff with this
for a while now. There's been research into materials that when you walk, it causes vibrations.
piezoelectricity.
And it generates a current.
Yeah.
So you could literally have a phone that just charges because you're walking. Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you want exclusive members-only content, segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.